everybody. Thank you for being here. So grateful for all of you. As Lisa said, we're in week 4 of this series called Doing the Hardest Thing. And of course, the hardest thing for human beings is to give and receive love. So we're going to meditate on that some. I've also been promising you all an update of a couple things here. Building the sustainable future of Dwell Church. We're in a campaign we're calling Sustainability 2.0. We had Sustainability 1.0, which I'll summarize shortly, over the summer. But we are, the way I explain it is, we're doing a very hard thing, the hardest way possible, planting a church. And when I say we, I truly, deeply mean we. Dwell Church does not belong to me or to our amazing leadership team. We are Dwell Church, and if we don't build this thing, no one else is going to. And as you'll see, we have some really novel, I think, core values, but we're aspiring to imagine what is on the other side of all the unprecedented change that we can feel but not always name. What will the thriving church look like on the other side of all those changes? So we're starting to dream together. What is the future of church? And we've taken a really bold choice to dream a very bright future for church. Led by the presence of Jesus, in love with each other. What is it going to look like? What is the thriving church going to look like on the other side of all this? So we've been working our way through building a sustainable foundation. The path we've taken, this should say 9 months. We're 9 months into this. And what we have done so far is put together 12 kids and a connections team, done some outreach, and we've launched what is functionally a church. Some of our church plant coaches, we have 4 of them. About 3 months ago, they said, congratulations, Dwell is a church. Not every church plant arrives at church status. You have. Way to go. Now start praying together about what God might do with that little church that's going there in San Mateo. Okay, we made it? All right. Sometimes I think it's helpful to think about what is the playing field on which our church is playing. What's the world that we live in? It looks like this. I've served 4 different churches in my career. I loved every single one of them. But I developed a conviction that the front door there was not wide enough. What if we built a church that had a wide open front door for the world that we live in? That was really the genesis of this dream that is Dwell Church. We also face something called the epidemic of loneliness. Maybe you've heard some sociologists talk about this, maybe on NPR. But a lot of the relational infrastructure of our world has broken down. I think the church has a powerful answer. A church with a wide open front door has a powerful answer for a lonely world. And then, as I said, you and I are going to live in our lifetimes through an unprecedented amount of change. And sometimes when we started saying that, we felt like, well, maybe the change is good. Maybe we're going to Mars. But also the case may be these are undesirable changes, which will be heartbreaking and confusing. And we will live through them together. What will the church that is thriving look like on the other side of those changes? This is the field on which we are playing. And so we developed this purpose. We want to be a new church for a new era. That we are embracing this change, or at least accepting it as inevitable and saying, what is the church going to look like? We want to be the church of the future. We have no idea what that is going to be like, but we have a hunch that core values like these will help us get there. We want to be Jesus-centered, emphasizing a personal experience of Jesus Christ. We want to be research-based, a new partnership with science. We want to be trauma-informed, with psychology integrated into our spiritual formation. We want to be diverse. The kingdom is diverse. I was reading a sociologist saying the church is the most sociologically diverse thing in human history, completely unimaginable before the advent of Jesus and his people. Every class, every nation, every possible category of human beings united. The kingdom is inherently diverse, and we are embracing that. And then Dwell Church seeks to be, we think the church of the future will be affirming and inclusive. An affirming Bible reading is an inclusive and affirming Bible reading. An affirming Bible reading is a better Bible reading. Messed up my own slogan. Happens sometimes. We're a Bible church in a way. We're following the Jesus that we meet in Scripture, and this is where it has led us, we think. That's what we think it will look like on paper, but what will it feel like when you're here? We really want to pay attention to that. We think Dwell Church will feel like these things. The church of the future will feel like these things. Encountering Jesus in satisfying ways, connecting deeply with each other, feeling seen. That's part of what we think it means to be Jesus-centered, is to learn how to truly see one another. And we want to deploy our builders, that's what we call our volunteers. We want to deploy people at the top of their capacity. A problem in every church I worked in is there were brilliant, deep, spiritually shaped people who are also not the most important thing that you could be doing in a gathering like this. God gave you people amazing gifts, and I want to help you deploy them in satisfying ways for the building of a church like well. What does it mean to aim at deploying people at the tippy top of what they can give? Not just the bare minimum, but to spare. So what does that feel like? It feels like spiritual encounters, deep connection, and greater purpose. That's what I hope. Maybe someday you'll be like, Dwell was awesome, it just wasn't for me. But I hope while you are here, you feel these things, one way or another. So, sustainability 1.0, how do we actually build a church? What do you do after we say we're planning a church, we had our first Sunday? You go through these seasons where you discern together. Sometimes you all have given great input, or sometimes our leadership has discerned. This is what we got to build next. Last time over the summer, we wanted to double down on 12 kids. They're amazing. 12 dinners, connection over food, spiritual, and story nights. If you haven't been to a story night, our next one is January 12th. They're incredible. Really excited about those. Then we wanted to lean into some local partnerships with the San Mateo Pride Center, a local school. We landed at George Hall. Very grateful for that. And the partnerships we had previously wanted to take to the next level. And then we were challenging everyone. We wanted 25 people praying for Dwell every day all summer. 14 people did that. I think that's pretty incredible. We wanted to add 25 people to our average gathering. We did that. That was pretty incredible too. And we needed to put together $25,000 a month. We think that is the sustainable financial foundation for Dwell Church. We didn't quite get there. We got to 14,000. To get to complete sustainability in our first summer was like a moonshot. If we had done that, people would have put us in the magazine and stood up and cheered. But our church plant coaches say, hey, making it to more than halfway to your financial sustainability is a remarkable achievement. What it means is people said, you know what, I don't totally know what they're doing over there, but I want to be involved. I want to do everything I can to build Dwell Church. That's what that $14,000 a month signified to our leadership team. That's how our coaches were showing us how to lead that. So in Sustainability 2.0, here are the things we want to build up to the new year. We want to continue connecting with our neighborhoods. We had an amazing trunk or treat right here in the parking lot. And as you probably know, kid threw up, major milestone, first vomit. Very exciting. My daughter was scandalized because that kid stuck around, ate more ice cream and candy. We talk about that all the time. Keep the rally there. We want to continue building a participatory model of our service. Part of the series about love came from something we do every 6 months. We call it community discernment, where we sit on a Sunday afternoon around tables, and each table has to say, I could do anything with Dwell Church for 4 weeks, 4 Sundays, what would we do? And they turn in a group project where they say, maybe it's no sermons, maybe it's just food, or maybe it's just conversation. And so we really are trying to build a place for everybody to put major fingerprints on everything that we do. That's one of the best parts, I think, of Dwell. I want to continue doubling down on sort of the organizational infrastructure, mission, vision, and strategy. We're thinking about completely replacing those words. I don't know if those are even the words that help us, but we have to start organizing ourselves in real clear and communicable ways. Then the other things that we're asking every person to do is to get on a builder team, to help be a financial partner with Dwell Church to help us get to that $25,000 a month, and to commit to a daily moment of connecting with Jesus. That's what we're asking you all to do. Some of you are already doing those things. But here is really what we're facing down. So we know of a lot of other church plants, in the area, and they have a sending organization of some kind, a denomination or a church planting network. And we are doing a really hard thing without those supporting sending networks. The reason we're doing that is there's really nothing like Dwell Church. There's no natural home for us, where we could be as innovative as we want to be and also as agile as we want to be. We discern together the best way to do that is to go without those organizations, even though it is the hardest road possible. So, for example, we know of a local church. They are in year 7. They're thriving, but they're also still financially supported by their sending organization. Now, in a moment, I'll share some of our updates about our grant. We have a grant that will fund kind of this first year. But unlike those churches with a sending organization where they're still financially dependent 7 years in, we only have 1 year of runway to arrive at sustainability. So before, the $25,000 would have let us spend our grant in strategic ways. Now we're using part of that grant, at least, to give us a longer runway to get to sustainability. So we're really in the crunch time of getting to that $25,000 so the Dwell Church can continue to grow into the future. Sustainability 2.0 is a really big benchmark for where Dwell Church is headed. And in the spring, we'll do Sustainability 3.0. We'll measure where we're at. We'll take the landscape again. We'll see what we're discerning together. We'll do a participatory way of figuring out what's God calling us to. And here's the reality. We have been wrestling down this nomenclature of, are we planting church and Jesus built it? Is he planting it and we're building it? Is he doing most of it? We're just along for the ride, whatever it is. This is a wild journey of just finding out what is it like to be on the edge of our faith, trusting Jesus, enjoying one another's company, asking the Spirit to guide us. That's what we're doing. So we put together some of these things, and I normally just explain this slide a little bit, but I think it's helpful to know this slide exists. We have a giving model that I think is unique. And the way we've been dividing, discerning is it wasn't always helpful to say, for churches to say, you should be giving 10%. Not everybody was ready to just jump in and do that. That's okay. You have to learn and grow and discern your way into tithing. And I wish someone would have told me along the way in my life, you could do a really important act of spiritual obedience by giving a much smaller amount. So we divided up this way. Those $25,000 are shaped like this. Meaning 2 people giving $3,000 a month, 2 families. 5 families giving $1,500 a month. 8 families giving $750 a month. 15 individuals giving $300 a month. 20 giving $50 a month. And that will get us there. So maybe you're not ready to be giving at a certain level that you have had in your head or your heart. Maybe it's your first time ever giving to a church like this. There's a great place, an impactful place for you to jump in here. Now we're at somewhere maybe 33 givers. We're aiming for 50 financial partners. And I think we'll get there in the next year. That's our goal, to arrive at $25,000. In December, we'll talk about how do we spend that $25,000. What do we do with that each month? We'll break that down a little bit. And we'll put this up at the end of the service, but we're asking everybody to do these things, to build join a Dwell Builder team, to become a Dwell financial partner, or begin or continue a daily prayer practice. Now, let's see if we have these slides somewhere. Oh. There's like a pie chart in there. Do you think you can find it? No? It's at the end? I've heard it's at the end. There it is. Okay. So, let's see. Where are we at here? Eddie, you're a genius. Okay. Oh. All right, you do it. There you go. Okay, there's one other of like this vibe that I want to talk about. Yes! Okay. Here's our financial strategy this year to get through the first year, maybe 2 years of planting a church. We did a fundraiser we called Barn Raising. It was amazing. If you didn't get a chance to attend it personally, you should find it online. The content was incredible. We just gathered some people that we love to listen to help us dream about the future of church. But we raised $14,000 through that. We're currently through our first sustainability campaign at $14,000 a month. We have $160,000 we think in grants coming in this year, and then we will start again doing monthly vision and fundraising meetings from which we raise on average $2,000 a month. And here's how we're going to spend that. Now we had this moonshot idea: if we could get to sustainability in the first summer, then all of that money could go towards strategic growth and investment in our relationships in the community. We didn't quite get there, but gosh, did we make it a long ways. The main thing we wanted to do with that was invest in our kids' ministry. So we have about 40% of our incoming grants that we've earmarked for 12 kids. That's still a lot of money, going to do a lot of good, sort of next generation, next level ministry. We need about 10% of our grants to go towards staff salary. And we're going to give about 40% of those grants to pay our rent here in large sums of money, which we believe will be most useful for the school. And then we've developed something that we're calling hallmarks of legitimacy, ways to say, hey, we're out of the launch phase. So we refreshed our website, we're working on a camera angle. People said it's not always so hot, so we're fixing that. We've identified some small things that we're going to spend grant money on to start to convey, hey, we're out of the launch phase, and we're here to make a good impact in the world. So in September, our leadership team met, and this is our kind of rough draft. We're going to continue fine-tuning this thinking, but I wanted to let you know where it's at. Now, because some of this is going to salary and to pay our rent, what that's doing is giving us about 6 more months of runway to keep building into that sustainability. Now, on the other side of those 6 months, we're going to need to be discerning together what is the future of Dwell Church. So we really we have kind of into the next year to start dreaming about a time where the sustainable foundation is laid, we're financially sustainable, and we will be able to say together, oh my gosh, I think we just witnessed a miracle, because literally no church plant that I've heard of has gotten to sustainability in the first year of its life. Now, why have people already shown up to invest this kind of money in a church like this? I think part of it is because we have these novel core values. I think part of it is because we have an amazing leadership team. But the thing that gives me the most hope for the future of Dwell Church is the kind of people that show up here at 5 p.m. Every single one of you all is amazing. And we've tried to engineer some ways for you to get to know each other. But as we start to become more of a church family, I think you too will find out amazing people are part of it. And that's why we keep taking these major gambles, these major risks of saying, we don't know in 2 years what this is going to look like. But with you all, I am willing to find out. And so that's why we're doing these sustainability campaigns. Now, we've also been talking about love, and Eddie will have to find the beginning slide of this sermon. Good luck. All right, we've been talking about doing the hardest thing, and we are going to work our way through some of the ways God has been calling us to love one another. If you've been here before, you know that a lot of times during the sermon, I like to pace around and yell and point at the screen and read large block quotes, which I'll do. But sometimes a sermon, it feels different. It says, sit down, look eye to eye, be together. So that's what we're doing today. We're in week 4 of learning to do the hardest thing. And in the first week, we asked, what is love? And we learned love is vulnerable. It's a really vulnerable thing. Love is an integrated thing. Sometimes people say, is it a choice? Is it a feeling? Is it an action? No, real love is all those things. It requires your whole person. We saw that love is a high effing standard. We're called not just to love the people that we like, we're called to love our enemies. That's what Jesus asked us to do. And then the next week, we were processing the results of the election, and from where I sit on the political spectrum, I think maybe where a lot of you sit on the political spectrum, we were wrestling through how do we feel about losing that election. And we were framing it in terms of following Jesus. How do we process our politics through the lens of our relationship with Jesus? And we were learning these prayers that I think were very salient and powerful for me, that we're learning from Jesus' last few moments alive before his resurrection. He prayed, Father, why have you forsaken me? It's okay to be mad at God. It's okay to lament. That's where we start together. Sometimes love starts with lament. That's where we were, a lot of us then. Then we saw Jesus say, forgive them, for they know not what they do. We were wrestling together with, from where I sit in the political spectrum, being concerned about the future, especially in terms of Gaza and Ukraine, but also LGBTQ rights and inclusion, all kinds of things that we have reason to be concerned about. And part of our job as a church is to serve our world well in calling out injustices, while at the same time loving and being connected. But the last thing we thought about Jesus saying on that first Sunday after the election was, he said, Father, into your hands I give my spirit. See, Jesus was facing actual crucifixion and death, and he still said, trusting God was the best thing I could do for the remainder of my life. That trusting God is not incompatible with living a life that you don't like, or having a circumstance that is quite painful. And that those kinds of soul-forming prayers, that's where love starts. Then last week, we talked about how you cannot give something that you don't have. That love originates from God, because God is love. And we saw that God loving you doesn't mean he does it through gritted teeth out of resistance or better judgment, but he actually loves you. He loves you deeply. And tonight we're going to talk about how do you love someone? How do you love someone that you disagree with? How do you love someone that you might disagree with that you're going to sit at the table with on Thursday? How do you really love someone? And as we reflect together on how we love someone, I want to anchor us in 2 of these big themes, which are vulnerability and presence. This is a leadership book called Leadership on the Line. It's written by 2 of the Harvard Business School guys. One of them is a very thoughtful Jewish man, and he writes at the end of this book about this moment where he was learning about what love really was. It was teaching him about presence and vulnerability. So here it is for you from Ron Heifetz and Marty Lindsay. A few years ago, Ron was invited to give a talk on leadership. Awesome spot. Found it. Here it is. A few years ago, Ron was invited to give a talk on leadership in Oxford, England, on a weekend that coincided with the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah. The morning after the talk, he and Susan embarked on a short trip through the English countryside en route to London, where they were expected to attend synagogue services. Early on, they came to a charming village called Castle Combe, where the original version of Dr. Dolittle was filmed. A beautiful old manor, hundreds of years old, arose at the edge of town with expansive lawns and clusters of old trees. The manor now operated as an inn, so that Ron and Susan had decided to stay there for the night. It was the afternoon before Rosh Hashanah, and as the evening approached, they wondered how they would celebrate the holy day so far from any Jewish community. Just before sundown, which marked the start of the new year, they discovered a lovely old Anglican church at the edge of the manor. More than 600 years old, the small, well-built stone building seemed to have no more than 20 rows of pews. They wandered in, and Ron sat down in front. A Jew in an Anglican church facing Jesus on the cross. Only weeks before, Ron and Susan had attended a Jewish workshop on deep ecumenism. Sacred Heart was the theme explained as a reflection of God's promise. Not to keep you out of the fire and the water, but to be with you in the fire. This was the theme. Ron looked up at the image of the man being tortured for his beliefs. A frightening sight, perhaps, for anyone who's not been acclimatized to it, but even more so for a Jew conscious of a history of persecution. After decades of feeling a smoldering outrage at the violent abuses of Christianity, Ron found that sitting in a church was a very challenging leap across a deep divide. As he reflected on his complex feelings in this moment, he began to wonder what this holiday might have been like for Jesus in his lifetime. And then Ron thought a bit wistfully, you were one of our teachers, weren't you, Jesus? Why not keep each other company in the new year? Nobody else is here to celebrate Rosh Hashanah with us, only you and I. Ron stared at Jesus and meditated. Rev Jesus, Ron mused, will you tell me your experience of the cross? This is Rosh Hashanah. When we contemplate Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his own son Isaac, will you please give me a message, Jesus? Rev, as you may know, is an endearing form of the word rabbi, which means teacher. After about 10 minutes, Ron got very excited. He asked his wife to come with him, and taking her by the hand, he led her outside in the crystal clear, cold, late afternoon sun, and asked her to sit by him near the trunk of an enormous old pine tree. Susan, I need to share this with you, but I can't tell you. I have to show you. Could you lay down here beneath this tree and stretch your arms, spread eagle, and just lay here next to me? And together they both lay outstretched, both of them looking up into the high branches of the tree, and after a few moments he turned to you. How do you feel? He asked. Really vulnerable, she answered. Me too. And that's it. That's the message. Everything that we've learned about leadership, leading with a sacred open heart, the willingness to feel everything and to hold it in without letting go of your work, to feel as Rabbi Jesus felt, the gravest doubt, forsaken and betrayed near the moment of death, to cry out like King David in the wilderness. Just when you desperately want to believe that you're doing the right thing, that your sacrifice means something, to have to cry out, my God, why have you forsaken me?